Hey guys, it's Kim from Dodges and Daisies and welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. For anyone new here, welcome. We are in the middle, toward the end of a 10 supply challenge, which is where I am choosing to only use 10 supplies in my journal layouts. And as I've mentioned before, I do this around once a year to just kind of use up the supplies I have, just unclutter, make things kind of easier if you have a lot of supplies, or simpler if you get overwhelmed with the amount of things that you have. It's just a fun practice. I'm always kind of into challenges like Junk Journal in January, or just any kind of journaling prompts or journaling collaborations with other people that just kind of help you to think outside of the box, especially if you've been journaling for a while or you have a lot of supplies, just to kind of mix things up and make things fun. So I believe this is our 8th video when it comes to the 10 supply challenge, which means we are winding down. Things will still probably look pretty similar on this channel, but I do think that I am going to be switching up the journal that I'm using. This is my 2022 journal, and it was a gift from my husband. He saw me look at it. I started to cry when I read the quote, and he bought it for me for Christmas, and I have been absolutely loving it. It has been a season of life where my journaling has been less about art and more about the combination of art and writing. So throughout this journal, there's just been a lot of, as you can see, like secret pockets of journaling, and then just journaling itself. So it's just been a season of life that's been difficult, and I've personally needed space, not just to create with art and express with art, but also get my emotions out with writing. So a journal this big has really been useful for just the kind of mood and place that I've been in. The last couple of journal with me's that I did were about going out for the day. The first one was to pre-make a tiny journal that was just easy to finish in a day. We kept with the same layout, and I took that out with me to the city of Greenville, and we journaled while there because we had a pre-made journal. The second journal with me was packing up supplies in a crafting carrier case from Studio Absent, and that's where these came from. I'm just gonna flip through quick because there is writing there. But in this series, I actually went to a covered bridge in the area. We sat down next to it. We sat down by a stream. I took out my journaling supplies. We made like a little picnic. I made coffee, and we spread out a blanket in front of a stream, and I journaled there. And again, it was a journal in the moment, just like in Greenville, where I journaled while there and just kind of captured the emotions of the day kind of while there. So now this last, I'll say, in a series of 3 about journaling when you're out for the day, will be about if you don't have your journaling supplies with you, but you would like to record your day afterwards. So this doesn't have to do with that. This is just a digital layout that I made, which again, if we're talking about just simple journaling, I'm going to be using this page to write, but this I did just on the Nietzsche app on my phone, and I can list that in the description. But really, really simple and easy if you want to just record a day and you don't have a lot of time or energy to make a really elaborate spread. Digital journaling can be a really great option, which kind of just goes with our theme about simplicity right now. But this is about our day in Asheville, North Carolina, which is the footage you just saw. We went to a place called Flora, which is, it's kind of like, it's definitely mostly plants, but it's a combination of, there's like a little cafe there that has coffee and just baked goods. They also sell like accessories for plants, like pots and candles, and you know, there's a stationery section where they sell cards. It's just kind of like everything that my heart dreams about, honestly. We haven't gone, I would say, probably in at least 6 months to a year. We used to go pretty often, but with COVID, we just stopped going to Asheville as much as we have, just because it's a very crowded city. And even though we were vaccinated, it just didn't kind of sit right with us how crowded things were. So we tried to just social distance as much as possible. But we did go into Asheville over the weekend. As most of you guys know, I'm wearing a heart monitor this week. There was something in my EKG that just made my doctor like a little wary, and she just wanted to keep an eye on if it was like a one-time thing or like something that happens often. So I have been staying off of my phone as much as possible, but only picking up my phone for special moments that I wanted to record. And it has been absolutely lovely. I have to say, it has been absolutely lovely. I read that because my heart monitor is paired with a different phone, that my phone could affect the reading. I did ask the nurse about that. She said I should be fine, so I haven't been super strict with it where like I can't be on my phone or near my phone. But I have really like restricted my phone use, and kind of not been spending time on social media or scrolling or checking, notifications, but just picking up my phone for the moments that I want to save in my memory. And that's what this day was about. I just picked it up to take some photos, and yeah, that was it. And it just was such a pleasant day because we looked at plants. I bought a few plants. I bought this, it's a silky pothos, and I bought the little container that's in it. I really love terracotta pots. Not just the way they look, but I also feel like they just keep plants healthier. And I bought this little cactus too. I still have to repot him. But yeah, I name all of my plants. So that is Keely and that is Roy, if anyone gets that reference. We are really obsessed with watching Ted Lasso right now. And yeah, so Keely and Roy joined us. She's a little bit extra because she's a silky pothos, and he's a little bit prickly because he's a cactus. And so yeah, anyone that enjoys that show, let me know in the comments. But I just felt like with all the stress that I was under, don't like hospitals, don't like things that have to do with hearts. I had a very, 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 can't put into words how very beloved uncle passed away at my age from a heart attack. So it was an event that just changed my life. I honestly was not the same after it, and it's not that we can't heal from loss. We all go through loss, but loss does stay with us. And it kind of reminds me of, like Japanese pottery, how the cracks are filled with gold. We can heal, and we can make beautiful things with those cracks, but the cracks are always there. We're kind of changed forever. And his passing did that to me. He was somebody that was very close to me. And the fact that he was my age when he passed away from a sudden heart attack. And this week I've been wearing a heart monitor and had to do an echocardiogram, and all these things has just been emotionally taxing on me. I think anytime that we go through a health issue, it's emotionally taxing on us, but just being his age and making sure my heart is okay when his heart wasn't has just been a lot on me. I've been a bit emotional because of it, understandably. So a day like this, you guys saw the footage, it was very relaxing. I just felt like plants are my happy place, and I just wanted to be around plants and coffee, and there's an adjoining bookstore. So yeah, it was like my soul just needed flora that day. And so that's where we went, and that's what we did. And then I did want to journal about it. I did not bring a journal with me. I did not bring journaling supplies with me, but this, as I said in the third kind of in the series, is about journaling when you come back, when you come home. So just like in the other two, I do like to take pieces of ephemera with me from the day. So this little flora stamp was on a paper bag that had Killy and Roy in them. And so I kept that. And this was from Bagatelle Books, where I bought 3 books. It was a bookmark that they kind of stick in. So I put that in the spread too. And I just really enjoy having things from the day kind of in the spread. I feel like that just makes it a really authentic keepsake that when you look back, you just can remember, and it just kind of brings you back to that place. For embellishments, I chose craft paper just to kind of mimic the bags that they use. And I also chose cutouts only from one of the books that I bought. So I pre-cut out a lot of flowers and just plants and botanicals. And it's not that I don't have cutouts that look like this, but I just personally chose to use ones that came from a book that I bought that day, just because I thought that would be a nice extra touch. Because we are limiting ourselves to only 10 journal supplies, the only other things I used were stamps. I used 2 different kinds, like genuine vintage stamps. And then there's these that I got from Christine from Peppa Time Capsule. I just thought that they were adorable. She stamped and cut out like her own little stamps. I chose to only use green, so I separated my vintage stamps, as you've seen me guys do before, just with shades of green, because I wanted it to just fit with the whole plant theme. And yeah, and then I used just kind of, I know it's hard to see on camera because it's so similar in like coloring to this kind of paper that this journal has been using, but it's just checkered paper, and I'm just kind of ripping that up and sticking that around to be where my wording is going to be, where my journaling is going to be, so you can see that I started that. So we're going to make a page just like this because I did take quite a lot of photos, and I actually did want to include all of them. I know I'm a little chatty today, but there's actually a lot that I wanted to talk about as I do this. So this is more like similar to kind of like a scrapbook page, I would say, than just a pure journal page. And I used to scrapbook a lot when I was younger. And one thing that I did learn was you don't have to scrapbook like every single photo that you take. So if you are, out and you're taking a lot of pictures, you might feel pressured to, include all of the photos that you took that day. And then, whether it's art journaling or scrapbooking, it can feel very overwhelming because you might have taken quite a lot. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes with these old books, the binding, the glue comes off, and it was just getting a little messy. But one thing that I did learn was you do not have to include like every single photo that you took that day. You can pick just like 2 or 3 that you feel like kind of just represents like the mood of the day or your favorite moments of the day. And don't be too like crazy about things. You can be kind of more relaxed about it, and just don't feel the pressure to record every single moment. In this particular case though, I actually did decide to print out all of the photos that I took. I believe there were around 24, so the spread will be, you know, a few pages long, but as you can see, the journaling is tiny. I'm just journaling in like little teeny little spots. So the fact that we're gonna have kind of like the same layout over maybe 3 or 4 pages is okay, because, you know, I'll probably have a bit to say about the day and I can, you know, spread that out over a few different pages. The reason I chose to do all of the photos was for a couple of reasons. One is my health. My health has been so difficult lately. Honestly, probably since September, when we moved here. We moved, I believe it was in September, and there were only a couple of weeks of health that I had that were actually kind of normal. And then I couldn't get out of bed for a few months because pain from endometriosis and a cyst that I had were so bad that I was bedfast. And then I had surgery, and so I had to recover from surgery. Then I had a very severe allergic reaction to the medication from both the surgery and that I was put on. And then my wisdom teeth had to be pulled, which was just the most bizarre of circumstances probably ever. Like, it was just comical, actually, just how on top of things were. And then I've just been dealing with like a lot of weakness and dizziness and fatigue, as my body has been really slow to heal. And, you know, that's where, you know, the heart palpitations came in, and they weren't sure if the reason I was so weak was, you know, due to my heart or any kind of problems with my heart. So I don't get out every time I want to get out, you know, like a weekend can come around and me and my husband can have a plan to do something, and I'm not always able to execute that plan depending on how strong I feel that day. So, you know, on Saturday, which is when we went to Flora, I had actually wanted to go to Flora for months already. It had been like a really long time, and I hadn't been able to go. So because I feel like my health is so up and down, I really never know when I'll have a good day and when I'll have a bad day, and when I'll be able to do something and when I won't. I did want to include all of the photos from that day, just because I felt like I don't always get to have these days. I don't always get to have these days where I get to go to a pretty shop. And I don't always get to have these days where I get to just, you know, see beautiful decor and spend my time around plants and have a really good cup of coffee and sit down and have a long talk with my husband. You know, like I don't always have days like this. So I really did want to just kind of capture all of it and not leave any of it out. And just, I didn't care if the spread was gonna take 4 pages, and I didn't care if I was gonna print out 24 photos, because I honestly didn't know the next time, you know, I would be able to go out, or, you know, my plans wouldn't be canceled because of a health issue, or, you know, the next time my week was going to be about something fun instead of, you know, doctor's offices. So I did choose to, this time, just kind of go all out and yeah, just include all of the photos, just because it was a special day to me. It meant a lot to me, and yeah, I do think that's okay. And really, it is about us when we come down to it. Like, our journals are about us. So we can see on Instagram or on YouTube or TikTok or, wherever we watch things, that, people definitely have a certain journaling style, and certain journaling styles can be more, popular or widespread than others. But, when it comes down to it, like, our journals are our own, and nobody is going to be left with these keepsakes but us at the end of the day. So if we want to, say, make a journal page that winds up being 4 or 5 pages long instead of 1 page, that's okay, because this journal is your personal journey, and it's what's in your heart, not somebody else's heart. And but also, if you want a journal that one day is just one very simple page and there's not much more to it than that, and you just kind of do a little envelope journaling tuck spot and you put your wording in there and it takes you just like an hour, that's okay. And if one style fits you better, that's okay. And if one style fits your mood one day and a different style fits your mood a different day, that's okay. So it really, I think it can be very tempting to look at what other people do in this community, because there's so many talented people and there's so many people that make such wonderful things, that we can kind of get tempted to be like, well, I like this person's style, so I'm gonna try to do what she does. Or I feel like I keep seeing a lot of people do this, so this must be how you creative journal, so I'm going to do the same thing. And if I could just encourage you guys, it doesn't have to be that way, that the best way to make something that you're going to be proud of is to kind of find the version of yourself that works in your art and to go with that. Because that's the layouts that are going to come out the best, that you're going to be the most happy with. You won't struggle with them as much, and yeah, when you look through them in a few years, then they'll resonate with your heart more than something that you just kind of felt like you had to replicate because you saw other people doing it. So I am gonna just take this moment. I forgot to show you guys before. There's a really lovely bookstore that adjoins Flora. It's called Bagatelle Books. I got this as just solely a decorative book. I absolutely love when books are this age, because they usually have just the most beautiful, absolutely beautiful covers or spines. The spine isn't as decorated, but the cover is. I know this will not be a book that I'll be ripping up. There's no, pictures or anything in it. It's just wording. This will be purely decorative. Sometimes I buy books just for spreads, like Instagram spreads where I need, different kinds of just props. And I just thought that was gorgeous. And then I got 2. I absolutely love both Golden Guides and Peterson Field Guides. If you are new to looking for books, any Peterson and any Golden book you will love, especially if they're vintage. I know some newer field guides have photographs instead of illustrations, but I'm an illustrations girl personally. So Peterson Field Guide is what I've been cutting up for these particular spreads. As you can see, there are a lot of really beautiful, both color, they're so beautiful, I can't take it, color illustrations, but also just these kind of line drawings that I've been, for some reason, just really into lately. I've been making a lot of my spreads with them. So that's the Peterson Field Guide. And sometimes with the Petersons, I do save them if they're the old kind. So I have on my shelf an entire, I won't cut them, I won't use them, Peterson Field Guides when they're that old green or blue hardcover series. those are like my keepers. But when you find ones that are still vintage and still old, but the soft covers, those are the kinds that I use for crafting and kind of just cut up and use for either journaling or happy mail or even home decor. Like, I absolutely love prickly pear cactuses, so this might even be something that like I hang on my wall in my studio. So yeah, the soft covers are old enough to be that vintage feel, but not too old where you feel like you can't kind of rip them apart, especially if there's water damage like this one has. I love to come across a book that is old enough to be ripped up, but not too old where I feel bad about it. And this one actually, as you saw before, this is only color illustration. These are so close together that they can be a little bit difficult to cut up, but they're great just to use as full pages. So you can use this as a full page in your journal as like a background, or you can frame them or hang them like on your wall to decorate your studio. There's so many different things you can do, or you can try to fussy cut as much as you can from these. But like I said, some are a little difficult, but these books are absolute prizes if you can find them. So yeah, I chose the Peterson guide to get, my line drawings from, and I just love that. I love that Bagatelle Books is where I found them, and then this is kind of like what I'm decorating this with. So this spread now is kind of done. All I have been doing is just kind of placing the craft paper around, normally 3, I did 2 because of this bookmark that I wanted to include. Then I've just been sticking the line drawings. They're not too complicated, so I don't mind if they kind of either, get hidden by, the photos or even overlap the photos. And now I added spots for, my writing, because I do like to include some writing in this journal. And now I'll just kind of play around with my green stamps and just see, like where I want to stick them, just to add a little bit more, decoration and color. I feel like, as you guys know, simplicity in crafting is really my heart. I don't like to go too overboard with things, but when things have more, on the page, there's definitely a more complicated and thought about look to the spread. So I try to combine the two. I try to add enough elements and enough layering where the page looks complicated. It looks like time was taken with it. It looks like love was poured into it. It looks like thought was put into it. But I don't try to go too crazy where it's going to bring me more stress than happiness. And I think that's, something that we each have to kind of find for ourselves. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and reels on Instagram, and I'm somebody that if somebody posts on Instagram, like I'll actually read their caption because I'm really interested in learning about them as people and about them as crafters. And I just feel like everybody's different. Like recently I've been reading, like there are certain people that if they take an hour and they make just one spread, but it's like a really involved spread, like that is mindfulness to them. And they can just kind of take that hour and only think about the spread and just really pour thought into it and love into it. And that's what calms them down, and that's what brings them peace. And that's why I always say, like, you need to find what works for you. Because for me, simplicity does that. For me, taking just a few different supplies, not being overwhelmed with all of the supplies that I own, making layouts that just kind of come naturally to me and I don't have to think about a lot, and only using just a few different supplies, and even kind of replicating how one looks with another if there's like a similar theme in mind. Like that's what personally brings me peace. But you always have to do what works for you, and sometimes different things work for us. There are spreads in here that I haven't shared that were much more complicated and took me a lot more time, but that's just the headspace that I was in that day. Because like I've said before, things have been so complicated life-wise, anxiety-wise, health-wise. The more simpler spreads have just worked for me during this time. But please, please take inspiration from what I'm doing, but don't conform what works for you just because it works for somebody else. Like, I'm really just such a big believer in finding what works for you and then running with that, practicing that, perfecting that. Yeah. So we're just about done. Do you think I'm going to add that one more stamp there? And then I will do my writing off camera. And I was considering doing 2 of these pages with you guys, but honestly, I've been so chatty right now that I think the video is going to be too long, so I'm just going to do 1 page with you. But yeah, this is done for me. All I'm going to do is I'm going to use this space and just do more writing about the day. And yeah, the rest of this should go pretty quickly because I've already pre-ripped my craft paper. I've already pre-sorted my green stamps. I've already edited and printed out all the photos from the day. Like, it just was so peaceful. I think I'll probably share these photos at the end of the video just so you guys can see just what a peaceful day it was. I mean, it was just one of those days, like the covered bridge day that you can see if you haven't watched it yet in my last video. That just was just one of those days that takes you out of your headspace, where you can just kind of fully immerse in like what's around you. And both the day of the covered bridge, like I said, you can watch if you'd like to see it in my last video, and this day at Flora, were days that I was just kind of able to forget that I had a heart monitor around me that was recording like every beat and everything that my heart did. Because if you stop and think about that, that's kind of creepy. But I was able just to kind of forget about it. And I was able to just really just look at the dried flowers and look at the beautiful decor. I mean, the owner of Flora is honestly a genius. I'm such a huge fan of home decor, and this lady she's just you know what I mean. So much of my own studio I've taken like inspiration from this shop. Yeah, she's so good at it. And just, you know, like I said, to be able to just be mindful, sit with my husband, have a cup of coffee, pick out a few different plants and even some containers, and just really just immerse myself in the day and pick up my phone when I wanted to record a special moment, like these moments that just brought me peace and drew me into the atmosphere, and then put down my phone and not go on socials because I was trying to not be on it as much. Can I just suggest we all have days like that, even if it's just once a week? Like I said, I wasn't strict with myself where I like couldn't go on my phone or I couldn't check Instagram, but I just lessened it, and I just kind of put it down more than I picked it up. And it was just such a special couple of days doing that. And yeah, the heart monitor comes off Thursday, which is 2 days from now. I'm counting down the days because it's really annoying, honestly. But yeah, there was something also so special about this week. So there, again, I'm very, very much into honoring our feelings. So I totally admit and have journaled about the fact that having a heart monitor on was a difficult thing for me, especially since I am the same age as my uncle who passed away from a heart attack. That was just one of those, at the core of you, defining moment, deep issues that I kind of had to face off with this week. Plus there's, you know, the obnoxious, like, you have like an octopus like stuck all over you with the little things. It's an octopus that very much cares about your heart health, but it's an octopus that feels like it's always on you. But then, you know, I also wanted to honor the good. Having time off of social media was wonderful. I went on twice. It was only days that I wanted to go on, like Valentine's Day, just to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day. And then I didn't go on when it was going to be a stressful thing for me. And instead I went to a flower shop and I picked out plants, and I went to a historic bridge and I took a hike in the woods and I saw nature and I took deep breaths by a stream. And we just don't do those things enough, whether it's because we have illnesses like me, or children like a lot of you, or, you know, high pressure jobs like so many people. You know, each one of us has our own story as to why our phones are always in our hand and we don't give ourselves these moments. But I'm thankful that I had moments like this week. And that is one of the reasons, like I said, where I didn't just print 1 or 2 photos. I printed all of them, and I'm going to stick all of them in these spreads. And just remember those days where my phone was picked up only to record the good and not because of pressure. And I needed it. I needed it. My heart needed it emotionally and probably physically as well. So yeah, we're done. You can see this is super simple. We didn't even use 10 supplies. There's just going to be 2 more videos like this, and then I can get into something more complicated. I also think I'm going to switch up the journal size. So I have definitely been in a learning process with this journal. I do not normally journal horizontally. I normally journal vertically in like a traveler's notebook or something similar. And I also don't normally use pages this big. A lot of times I'll use like a field notes or passport size, or like a standard traveler's notebook size. So this has really been a stretch for me, journaling horizontally, number 1, but with this much space, number 2. So after those next 2 videos, I think I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to start showing you guys just more kind of standard like traveler's notebook pages or field note size pages that we can kind of, probably more similar to what you have at home. And I think that should be an enjoyable thing too. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for listening to me talk today. My channel, I want it to be more than just crafting. I want it to be a place of peace that you can escape to. When things are hectic or stressful or hard, I just want you to be able to come here and for those things not to exist for however long these videos are. So I hope and pray that you guys have a beautiful day. And if you are not, I pray that you find moments in that day that make you smile, moments in that day where you can find peace and joy, even if it's just sitting with a cup of coffee or journaling a memory. Like today, I journaled something that did not happen today, but you can print out a happy memory from any time and journal about it whenever you want to. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day or night, and I will see you soon in the next video without a heart monitor. Yay! I'll talk to you soon.